It is common for your parents to not believe in you. It's not your fault, and it's not their fault either. In fact, I'd say it's no one's fault entirely. That's just how it is. Your parents see you as this sort of physically maturing person. They see when you were shitting yourself and pissing on the floor, they see you physically grow. You start crawling around, then you start waddling. Then you get a little taller. You get a little stronger, you get a little bigger. They see all this physical maturity because you don't really trust them with the emotional maturity. You don't show them the emotional growth because that's all in here. Unless you speak about that, they will never get that part of you. It's why parents don't really have a good relationship with most of their sons, The son is taught you are supposed to be this physically strong, solitary person that just works and provides for the family. And women are taught to be this sort of, nurturing person that cares for the provider. And you can't really talk about it with your parents. You can't talk about your emotions with your parents because most parents, they don't understand emotions like that. I feel like the older you get, the more experience you have with life, and it's much easier to get through life when you start neglecting your emotions. And that's why many parents do that. They throw away their sadness. When they feel sad, they think, I need to, in turn, counteract that with more work or more physical means. I need to go out and buy some food, have a nice drink, or go on a walk, visit the beach. They counteract this sort of emotional damage or emotional goodness with physical stuff. And as you get older, it's so much easier to do that. It's really a cycle. And I find myself sometimes going through that cycle. When I feel sad, I fill it with music, or I fill it with a workout, or I fill it with food that I like. And once you start falling out of tune with your emotions, you grow into this purely physical being that completely neglects their spiritual side, their soul. And in turn, you pass that down to your kids. You teach them the same stuff because it's what worked out for you. And that's why your parents don't really believe in you. They don't really believe you could do stuff that they couldn't do. My grandparents were sort of born during right after the Great Depression, right? Their parents were born in the Great Depression or went through the Great Depression. So in turn, my grandparents' parents, or my grandparents' children, were then forced to kind of work. Because, right after the Great Depression, people are so worried about, I got to have money so I could provide for my family because I wasn't able to provide for them when I was going through the Great Depression because my parents weren't, So in turn, they start working for money. The grandparents, my dad's parents, started working a lot for money. So they were taught, I need to find a job. I need to go to college, get a good paying job so I could give my kids the opportunity to get a better job than me, right? And that was passed down to my parents. And my parents, in turn, tried passing it down to me. I got to get a good job so I could have a stable working where I could just work in a job and, just stack up money with my time. But I don't want to do that. And since my parents never had the internet, it wasn't as prominent back then as it is now, success was so much farther for them away. It wasn't at the click of a button. You couldn't click a button and become a millionaire overnight. Instead, you had to create a business, or you had to be famous, or you had to be able to be a great actor or a great singer. It was also so much harder than it is now. And that's why your parents really killed their ambition to be someone, because their ambition was unrewarded. You had to be someone special to create something. You couldn't be an average person and sing out to the world like Mariah Carey or Ariana Grande. You couldn't do that. You had to be a great actor. If you weren't Leonardo DiCaprio, you were not being famous. That's what they saw. They saw all these great artists, great actors, great businessmen, and they imagined that's what I have to do to become that. So I can't do that. And in turn, that mindset gets passed down to their kids. And now their kids' motivation or ambition is unrewarded because their parents can't believe they can do it. They weren't able to become a famous actor or whatever they wanted to be, so they believe you can't either. And it's not just that. Of course, it's also the physical maturity. They only see you physically grow, not emotionally, not mentally. They don't see that one time you were holding a knife to your throat and wondering, damn, why am I so ugly? I really want to just slip my shit. They weren't seeing you at your darkest times. They were only seeing you physically grow. And that's why your parents don't believe in you. It's not their fault. It's not their parents' fault. It's not the world's fault. That's just how it is. So when you start that journey with yourself where you say, oh, I want to become a famous TikTok person. I want to become a famous YouTuber. I want to be an actor. I want to be famous. I want to be a fitness coach. Or I want to be all this and this and this and this. If it doesn't coincide with your parents' views on it, they're going to ostracize you. They're not going to believe you could do it. Why? Because their ambitions like that weren't rewarded. Instead, what was rewarded for them was going to college or going to the military, which is what they're going to push onto you. And I know it's not their fault. It's never their fault, right? They just want what's best for you. Your parents believe that since this is what was best for them, it's going to be what's best for you. But in reality, it's oftentimes not, which is why there's such a disconnect between people's kids and their parents. You know, most parents have you for whatever reason they might have you. Maybe they have you so you could help them when they're older and provide for them when they're older. And maybe they have you because they want you to do something with your life, right? Maybe it's just a natural instinct to create kids. Or maybe they want to have you so they could do something for you and let you have your best life, right? Those are very rare. The other three I listed are the more common reasons. They have you so you could provide for them when they're older. They have you because it's just what's naturally in them, right? They have you, so on and so forth. It's very rare where parents have you so they could do something for you and let you live your best life. Even though that's what most parents want. They want you to live your best life, but oftentimes your vision of your best life isn't their vision of your best life because they don't really get you like that. They don't understand you like that. That's why it's so common for children to not like their parents or teenagers to not like their parents. It's because they feel like they're being forced down a life they don't want. And if they don't, coincide with their family's view on them, they don't coincide with what their family wants them to do, then they get kicked out the house, or they get threatened to get kicked out the house, or they're threatened to be disowned. You're going to go have to fend for yourself because I'm not going to provide for you if you're not going to give me anything back, in return. You're not going to do what I want you to do. I'm giving you a car. I want you to go get a job and go work at the military. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to have all these things I give you. That's what they do because they believe that's what they have to do to get you to do what they want you to do, because that's what their parents did to get them what they wanted to do, right? It's just like a repeating cycle. And once you break out of it, I find it so beautiful. Because even though my parents may not understand me, my parents may not like me for wanting to become big off content creation, it's not stable, it's not something that's going to work out. YouTube could get deleted and then you're gone. TikTok could get deleted and then you're gone. Instagram's gone. What if social media's gone? You're gone. Your entire livelihood's gone. But for me, I'd rather live on the edge like that. I'd rather have the risk of my entire livelihood be taken away than to live a life that I don't want to live. I would not want to work at 9 to 5. I would not want to go to the military. That's just not me, right? And they can't get that. And it's not their fault. It's partially my fault, right? Because I wasn't telling them about my emotional journey in life. But it's not my fault that I wasn't telling them either. It's no one's fault. It's just how things are. So let me sit here and tell you right now, if you believe you could do something, if you think, I want to become a TikTok influencer, I want to live my life off YouTube, I want to become a sports commentator, I want to be a doctor, or whatever you want to be, your parents will, if it doesn't coincide with their values or their views, they will try to knock you down. Don't let them knock you down, right? Because then it's gonna start going into this cycle of, I'm gonna do the same shit to my kids. I'm gonna force them to do what I wanted to do. They those parents that do that kind of see their kids as an extension of them. not as their own personal being. My parents don't see me like a person, right? They might see me as a person, but they see me as their kid first because I'm an extension of them. Everything they could do, I could do, but I can't do more than that. That's kind of what they see. Once you cut that cycle off and you pursue what you want to do, in turn, your kids will pursue what they want to do. That cycle of pushing your values, your beliefs, your views onto your children and having them live a miserable life, it's going to end. And then your kid's going to do whatever they want to do. And they're going to pass on that to their kids. Or unless something bad happens, and then they might not. But that cycle, it's just something that needs to be broken. And that's really why I feel like both my uncles, my dad's brothers, really committed suicide, man. They were forced into a life they did not want. Off the rip, my first uncle that committed, my dad told me that it was kind of right before he started college. He had this feeling of, my dad had this feeling that his brother didn't want to go to college, or, he didn't want to do that. So in turn, he took his life. That's something that occurs when you force your kids to do something they don't want. My other uncle, recently his wife divorced him, kid left him. Not recently, that was like a long time ago, right? But he recently took his life. Why? I believe he was forced into a life he didn't want. My other uncle, the one most recent, was very creative. He built swords. He built a lot of shit. He created art, is what I'd like to call it. But he was in the military. So I doubt he had that much time while he was in the military to really create and let his creativity really flow out into the world. If he instead had done something that would have benefited him, just creating more, would have allowed him to create more stuff, create more art, I feel like he wouldn't have killed himself. That's what I feel like. Of course, I can't say that for a fact, right? I'm not being demeaning to my grandparents. I'm not saying they caused his suicide. It's not what happened, But I feel like if his life went more the way he wanted to, he wouldn't have committed. He would have been enjoying his life, creating art, instead of rotting away because his daughter left him. And that's how life is. You got to break the cycle that your parents force onto you. The cycle of, I got to get my kid to have the best life that I think they could have, right? Their best life is they're an extension of me. My kids have to do this because this is what worked for me. Once you break that cycle, everything, life just becomes so much more beautiful. You see your kids grow up and do what they want to do, not what they were forced to do. Your kids start creating art. They start making all this beautiful shit. Let them. Dear parents, let your kids do what they want to do. Don't force them to work a job they don't want to work. Don't force them to live a life that they don't want to live. Of course, push them a little, nudge them a little, guide them in the right direction. Kids aren't something you're meant to control. Kids are something you're supposed to have to let them do what they want. You don't have a kid because you want them to do something for you. You have a kid so you could do something for them and let them live their best life. Guide them down the right path. Don't force their head down that direction. Give them a little nudge. If they don't want to go that direction, give them a little nudge the other right way. Don't fucking force them to go one way or the other, right? That's all I wanted to say. A little short video. This one's not going to be edited. I have a good video coming out that I'm planning on editing. But other than that, the Ramen City out. Love you guys.